Every single person on this planet has their own unique traits and habits, but some people just stand out from the crowd in the most unbelievable ways. Whether it's an incredibly rare genetic condition or some out-of-this-world ability, you wouldn't believe these people actually exist if it wasn't all caught on camera and documented. And that's exactly what you're going to see today. So go ahead and drop a like, hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into it. Sam Burns was born on October 23, 1996, in the United States, with an incredibly rare genetic condition called progeria. This disease causes the body to age much faster than normal, starting in early childhood. Just to give you an idea, there are only about 250 known cases of this condition in the entire world. The first signs showed up when he was just 2 months old. His diagnosis came before he turned 2, at a time when almost nobody really understood the disease. Even so, his story took a very different path than most people would have expected. Sam's parents, Scott Burns and Leslie Gordon, were both pediatricians, and instead of just accepting the situation, they went searching for answers. They built research programs, brought together specialists, and helped identify the gene linked to the condition, while also contributing to the development of treatments that actually started showing results. Meanwhile, Sam was just living his life like any other teenager. He went to school, loved math, helped classmates in class, and even worked on small personal projects. He never let the disease define who he was. The average life expectancy for someone with progeria is around 13 years. Sam made it to 17, and on top of that, he was getting ready to go to college with an interest in genetics or cell biology. He passed away on January 10th, 2014. But what really stands out isn't just how rare his condition was, it's how he dealt with everything, always focusing on what he could do instead of what he couldn't. With so many people in the world who never live up to their potential, even with so much more time on Earth, Sam's story is absolutely one to look up to. Zion Clark's story is nothing like what you'd expect. He was born with a rare condition called caudal regression syndrome. In practice, that meant he came into this world without legs. It's extremely uncommon, affecting roughly 1 in every 100,000 children, but his start in life was even more complicated than that. Zion spent 16 years in the foster care system without a permanent family. During that time, he faced some really tough situations, and a lot of people doubted what he'd ever be capable of doing. At school, for example, he was constantly on the receiving end of comments. People would say he wouldn't be able to do anything, and at first he did react badly, got into trouble a lot, but over time he shifted his mindset and decided to use all of that as fuel. That's when wrestling came into the picture. Even without legs, Zion started training from a very young age. In the beginning, neither he nor his opponents really knew how to handle it, but through trial and error, he developed his own style. He trained every single day, twice a day. It became a routine and then a whole way of life. He went on to become a recognized athlete, competed at the college level, and even entered professional MMA, winning his first fight against an opponent with no physical limitations. On top of that, he broke world records moving using only his hands. Today, Zion doesn't want to tell a sad story. He wants to show that you can push beyond your limits, even when everything in life seems to be working against you. From a young age, Kelly Fido White knew something was off. Back in school, classmates would make comments saying she smelled like fish. At the time, she tried to brush it off, came up with excuses, but it kept coming back. Years later, she found out she has a rare condition called trimethylaminuria, also known as fish odor syndrome. It's a metabolic disorder where the body can't properly process certain substances found in food, especially those rich in choline. Because of that, the body releases strong odors through sweat, breath, and other pathways. Odors that can resemble fish, onion, or something even worse, and it has absolutely nothing to do with hygiene. Quite the opposite, actually. There was a period where Kelly was taking excessive showers, desperately trying to fix the problem, but nothing worked. The condition is so rare that it affects somewhere between 300 and 600 people worldwide. A lot of people, including doctors, have never even heard of it. At her job as a radiologist at a hospital in Oldham, England, she's received complaints from coworkers. It seriously damaged her confidence to the point where she chose to work the night shift just to avoid being around other people. Even so, Kelly kept pushing forward. She got a diagnosis after doing her own research, and today she manages the condition through diet and medication, even though there's no definitive cure. And through all of this, she found support in her husband Michael, who never let her condition define who she truly is. Now this one sounds like it could easily be fake news, but Versavia Borin's story is completely real. She was born in Russia with an incredibly rare condition called pentalogy of Cantrell. Basically, her heart never formed inside her chest cavity. It sits on the outside, protected only by a thin layer of skin. Doctors said she probably wouldn't survive even her first day. In many cases, around 90% of babies born with this condition don't make it, but Versavia defied every single expectation. Today, at 16 years old, she lives a life that as much as possible looks just like any other teenagers. She goes to school, loves hanging out and chatting with friends. But she has to be really careful with any sudden movements. Even simple physical activities wear her out pretty quickly. When she was younger, she used to wear a kind of chest protection to avoid accidents. Over time, she grew more confident in her own body and stopped using it. Even with all those limitations, she says she doesn't see herself as a miracle. To her, it all comes down to her mom's support. A mom who never gave up, and even with predictions of a short life, her family believes she'll keep on surprising everyone. Daniel Kish lost his vision as a baby, just over 1 year old, due to a rare form of eye cancer. Since then, he has lived his entire life completely blind. But that didn't stop him from doing things most blind people never even attempt, like riding a bike through busy traffic. Yes, he pedals through crowded streets, makes turns, and avoids obstacles all on his own. He's able to do all of this thanks to a technique he developed himself, basically a kind of human sonar. The method is simple, but it's genuinely mind-blowing. Daniel makes these small clicking sounds with his tongue. Those sounds bounce off objects around him and come back as an echo. From that, he can actually detect distance, shape, and even the position of things in his path. It's basically the same principle that bats use. Over time, his brain learned to turn those sounds into something like a mental image of his surroundings, and that allows him to move with a level of freedom that completely shatters what most people assume blindness looks like. On top of living independently, he also teaches this technique to other blind people all around the world. And when people tell him he must have some kind of special power, Daniel shuts that down immediately. He says there's nothing supernatural about it. To him, this technique is simply another way of seeing the world. Marimar Kuroa from the United States was born with a rare condition called lymphangioma. This caused her to develop large cysts on her face and neck that collect fluid from the lymphatic system, and they significantly changed her appearance from a very young age. Because of this, Marimar can't speak, and she has difficulties breathing, hearing, and even eating. As a child, she went through several surgeries, but the condition has no complete cure. Even so, she took a path that nobody expected. Passionate about makeup, she decided to create a YouTube channel to teach tutorials, and she made sure to include sign language in her videos, specifically to reach people who also can't communicate through speech. Over time, her channel grew. She's already published more than 400 videos and racked up tens of millions of views. But the most powerful thing about her channel might not even be the content itself. It's the message. Marimar herself has shared that when she was a little girl, she would stand in front of the mirror and repeat positive things about herself over and over until she actually believed them. In the end, she doesn't just teach makeup, she shows through her own life what it truly means to accept yourself, even when the rest of the world keeps telling you not to. Henna Kryzecki looks like a little kid, but she's actually a full-grown adult. Born in the United States, she stands at about 36 inches tall even as an adult. That's because of an extremely rare condition called primordial dwarfism, which affects roughly 100 people on the entire planet. At 19 years old, she was still wearing children's shoes. Most people assume she was around 5 years old, and honestly, that still happens today. But her life goes way beyond that. Henna loves dancing, singing, and performing. She takes hip-hop and ballet classes, works with a vocal coach, and dreams of traveling, acting, and building a career in music. Day to day, she also does totally normal things for her age, like hanging out with friends, going shopping, and even talking about wanting a boyfriend. But behind all of that, there's a more delicate side to her story. Her condition can bring on a range of serious health issues, including real neurological risks. Because of that, she gets frequent checkups and needs ongoing medical care. Her life expectancy may also be reduced. Even so, she keeps pushing forward with her plans and her dreams. Henna has made it crystal clear she doesn't want to be defined by her size, and despite all the challenges, she keeps chasing what she loves. Despite being born without arms or legs, Canadian Lindsay Hilton has been doing things most people considered impossible since she was a little kid. Swimming, skiing, even playing rugby. But it was in adulthood that she decided to push herself even harder. She got into CrossFit, one of the most demanding training styles out there, and she didn't just dabble in it. In just over a year, she was already competing at one tournament, the Wodapalooza. She finished in second place in her category. And we're not talking light workouts here. We're talking pull-ups, squats, heavy lifting, movements that require complete body control, things that are already tough for experienced athletes. And yet, she handles all of it. In the beginning, Lindsay did use prosthetics, but she eventually set them aside because she realized she could move through the exercises faster without them. Over time, she's learned to adapt her movements to whatever each exercise demands. In her everyday life, she pushes for people to see all of this as completely normal. She said herself that she doesn't consider herself an inspiration, just someone living her life. But her sheer willpower makes it really hard to look at what she's doing and not think otherwise, because while a lot of people freeze up before they even try, she just went ahead and made it happen. Meet Joy and Joyce Magsinu, Filipino sisters born with a condition called craniopagus, which is when two people come into the world with their heads fused together. This specific type occurs in roughly 1 in every 2.5 million births. That is incredibly rare. When they were born, doctors told their parents they most likely wouldn't make it past 10 years old. But time passed, and they defied every prediction. Now teenagers, they're still out here living their lives together, and yes, literally. Even with all those limitations, they do totally normal things. They go to school, take photos, hang out with friends, and even make videos for the internet. On social media, they've already built up hundreds of thousands of followers. But it's not all simple. There is the possibility of a surgery to separate them, but the procedure is extremely risky. In some scenarios, there's a chance that only one of them would survive. Because of that, the decision has never been easy for the family. In the meantime, they've learned to live this way. According to their own parents, the two have developed a really strong bond, but they also argue like any sisters would, especially when they want to do different things. And even though they share way more than most people ever could, each one still has her own personality, and honestly, that's what makes them so incredibly special. One of the most famous cases of conjoined twins in the entire world is that of sisters Abby and Brittany Hensel, who were born with 2 brains, 2 heads, but just one single body. Each one controls her own side. Abby handles the right side, while Brittany handles the left. From a young age, they had to learn to do everything together in perfect sync. Learning to walk, run, write, and even drive a car required total coordination between the two of them. And even so, they went on to live a really full, active life. Both of them went to school, graduated from college, and today they work as elementary school teachers in Minnesota. Inside the classroom, they function as a team. One focuses more on math and science, while the other does better with reading and writing. In 2021, Abby got married to Josh Bowling, a nurse. The relationship got a huge amount of attention on social media, and the two of them ended up not enjoying the spotlight at all, pulling back from the public eye and the gossip in recent years. Even though they share the same body, each one has her own personality, her own opinions, and her own preferences. Together, they prove that you really can live a completely normal life, even in a situation that is anything but normal. The British guy Gary Turner can stretch his own skin like it's made of rubber. In an official test, he pulled the skin of his abdomen out to an impressive 15.8 centimeters. Gary has a rare condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects collagen, the structure that gives skin its firmness. In his case, those fibers are much looser, and that's what allows this absolutely insane level of elasticity. And he says it doesn't hurt at all. He actually mentioned that he discovered this ability when he was still a kid, back in school. One day, he noticed he could do something that nobody else around him could do. From that point on, his stretchy skin became his signature thing. Today, he even performs at shows and has appeared on television programs displaying this truly unusual ability. The condition also comes with some pretty serious side effects. Wounds can take a lot longer to heal, and he bruises way more easily than most people. In more severe cases, it can even start to affect the blood vessels themselves. But despite all of that, Gary faced his syndrome completely head on. Instead of hiding it away, he turned his unique condition into a one-of-a-kind act, performing as an artist in shows all around the world. Charity Pierce got a lot of attention when she appeared on My 600 Pound Life back in 2015. At the time, she was 39 years old. and weighed around 350 kilograms. Her situation was so serious that she could barely move on her own. During the show, Charity went through some incredibly hard moments. She had wounds that wouldn't heal, and she ended up being hospitalized pretty early on. Later, she had bariatric surgery and managed to lose around 120 kilograms. It looked like a fresh start, but her life stayed complicated. After her mother passed away, she had an emotional relapse. Even so, she kept trying to push forward even while dealing with frequent infections and multiple hospital stays. Then years later, in 2019, another blow came: kidney cancer, which led to the removal of one of her kidneys. In January of 2026, at 50 years old, Charity passed away after spending about 2 months in palliative care dealing with conditions like lymphedema and fluid buildup in her lungs. Her story is a reminder that not every story gets a happy ending once the cameras turn off. The hardest part happens far from the spotlight, with nobody knowing what you're really going through. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira was born in Monte Santo in Bahia with a rare condition called arthrogryposis. His body developed with his spine curved backward, his arms and legs with very limited movement, and his head also facing backward. When he was born, doctors actually said he wouldn't survive even 24 hours. But his story took a very different turn. With the support of his family, Claudio grew up doing as much as he possibly could on his own. He learned to feed himself, started walking on his knees around the age of 8, and later decided he wanted to study just like anyone else. He finished high school and went on to graduate in accounting sciences from the State University of Feira de Santana. After that, he started working as an accountant and also became a motivational speaker, traveling and sharing his story. Claudio often says that everyone has problems, but the way you deal with them is what makes the difference. According to him, motivation comes from within yourself, from your environment, and from the relationships around you. Today, beyond his work, he uses his own experience to encourage other people not to give up so easily. Sometimes, it's not the world that's upside down. Maybe that's just the way we choose to look at it. Some people are so competitive that a simple challenge can end up changing the entire course of their life. That was the case for an Indian man named Sridhar Chilal, who started letting his nails grow when he was still a teenager, back in 1952. It all started after an incident at school when a teacher got really upset with him because he had accidentally broken one of her nails. Back then, Chilal actually got physically punished by the teacher. Because of it, he just couldn't understand how she could get so angry over a single broken nail. The teacher told him he had never had to take care of long nails himself, so he had no idea how much a broken nail was actually worth. That stuck with him, and it became a kind of personal challenge from that teacher. From that point on, he made a decision he would never cut the nails on his left hand again. Over the years, what started as just a curiosity ended up growing into something massive. By 2014, at 78 years old, his nails measured an incredible 909.6 centimeters combined. Just his thumbnail alone was nearly 2 meters long, coiled up like a spiral, but keeping them that way wasn't easy. He struggled to work, had trouble sleeping, and even simple everyday tasks became a real challenge. A lot of people avoided him, and finding love was complicated too. He was rejected multiple times before finally getting married at 29 years old. His dedication, though, eventually got recognized by the Guinness World Records, which brought him fame and a genuine sense of pride. After more than 6 decades of growing them out, he finally cut his nails, and they were preserved in a museum. It sounds like something out of a fisherman's tale, but there's actually a guy in Serbia who deals with electricity in a pretty unusual way. His name is Biba Struja, known as the Electric Man. He touches live wires, sticks metal objects into power outlets, and nothing happens to him. For anyone else, that would be incredibly dangerous. But the most fascinating part is how it all started. Years ago, while working in his workshop, Biba accidentally came into contact with electricity. His coworkers genuinely thought he wasn't going to make it. But not only did he survive, he said he barely felt a thing. From that point on, he started pushing his limits further and further. Today, he actually uses this ability in live performances, and even for everyday tasks like heating objects by running electrical current directly through his own body. According to experts, the explanation lies in his skin. Biba has a rare genetic condition that makes his skin much drier than normal, that significantly increases resistance to electrical current passing through. Even so, it's not completely without risk. He's had burns before and needs ongoing medical supervision. Biba himself warns that it might work for him, but nobody should ever try this at home. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this.